Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, Allahu, Allahu.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we see that the hostility from the Quraysh of Makkah never ended. In fact, it became more severe now because the Muslims had a land to call of their own. Another instance which showed this, I'm going to read from page number 239 of the book raheequl makhtum, Sealed Nectar. It says the attempts of the Quraysh to provoke the Muslims and the contact with Abdullah ibn Ubay. Now before I go ahead, Abdullah ibn Ubay bin Salul, that's his name. This man, he was supposed to be the leader or the king of Medina. After the two tribes of Medina, Aus and Khazraj, decided we don't want to be fighting each other anymore. They said, let's put a leader from within ourselves. Instead of being divided into two tribes, we'll have one leader. And they elected him or selected him. His name is Abdullah ibn Ubay bin Salul. While this happened, Allah guided them to Islam. And they welcomed the Prophet ﷺ to Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ, obviously he was the de facto leader now. So this man, Abdullah ibn Ubay bin Salul, because of his jealousy, he refused to become Muslim. And he started to show enmity to Islam. So the Quraysh of Makkah, the enemies of Islam, they tried to instigate him and to use him to fight the Muslims within Medina. If you know your brief history, that's what happens all the time. Okay, that's what happens all the time. They finance someone from inside to do the job for them. So the Quraysh, the Quraysh offended at the escape of the Prophet ﷺ along with his devoted companions, and jealous of his growing power in Medina, they kept a strict watch over the Muslims left behind, meaning in Mecca, and victimized them in every possible way. They also established secret contacts with Abdullah ibn Ubay bin Salul, the chief of the Madanese polytheists. He was supposed to be the chief, and he did not accept Islam yet. And the president designate of the tribes of Aus and Khazraj before the Prophet's immigration. They sent him a strongly worded ultimatum, ordering him to fight or expel the Prophet ﷺ. Otherwise the Quraysh, will launch a widespread military campaign that will kill his people and arrest and take as captives their women and children. The Quraysh, they wrote to Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul saying, you are supposed to be the leader. Now you and your people have given refuge to Muhammad, who's an enemy. So either you fight him or you expel him from Medina. Otherwise we are going to attack you and kill you and your people and take your women and children as captives. His pride wounded and his kingship no longer his, Abdullah ibn Ubay bin Salul responded positively to the Quraysh. Ar-Rahmah bin Ka'b says, narrating, when this reached Abdullah ibn Ubay and those who were still worshippers of the idol in Medina, they gathered together to fight the Messenger of Allah ﷺ and the Muslims of Medina. When the Prophet ﷺ heard about this news, he, together with the chiefs of the Muslims, he visited them and said to them, the threat of the Quraysh to you has expired. Meaning you should not be worried anymore about the Quraysh. They cannot conceive a plot against you more than you intend to harm yourselves. So are you willing to accept whatever they tell you and to fight with your own sons and your own brethren? Meaning now you're fighting your own people in Medina. Are you willing to do that just because you're afraid of the Quraysh who are no longer a threat anyways? When they heard this from the Prophet ﷺ, they all left, and they left that plan or that plot which they were plotting. The chief, however, seemingly complied, but at heart he remained a wicked, unpredictable conspirator along with the Quraysh and the envious Jews. Small fights and provocations started to pave the way for a major confrontation between the Muslims and the polytheists. This shows you that the threat was ever there. And even though the Prophet ﷺ, he signed a treaty with them, he knew that they could not be trusted. He knew that they could not be trusted. So upon this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave the Muslims the permission to fight. And that is what we call in Islam al-jihad. Now, obviously the word jihad is translated for you by someone who doesn't know even the list of Arabic as holy war, fighting. And we know that that's not what jihad means. I want to read to you these beautiful words of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, Maratibul jihad, the levels of jihad. By the way, the word jihad comes from what? What is the root of jihad? Jahada, which means strive. He put an effort, that's all it means. Jahada yajhadu, for my Arabic students. Tayyib. And Allah uses this word in the Quran. And He uses it that the non-Muslims, they are doing jihad actually. The non-Muslims are doing jihad. Allah says about the Muslim who has reverted to Islam, but his parents are still not Muslims. Allah says about them what? When they put so much effort, they strive, they fight you to leave Islam. Don't obey them, but deal with them and treat them and respect them in a good way. وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. So even the non-Muslims, they do jihad, yes they do. Because it literally means to put an effort. And that verse specifically was revealed for who? We learned about this. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. When he became Muslim, and his mom specifically, she said what? I will not eat, I will not drink, I will not stay under the shade unless you leave Islam. Remember? And Allah revealed this verse. And if they put effort, your parents, jahadaka, so that you leave Islam, don't obey your parents in that, but in anything else, obey your parents and treat them well. That shows you how much Islam respects the parents, even if they're not Muslim, even if they're fighting you. That's the meaning of the word jahadak or jihad, to put an effort. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, so we understand what the word jihad means in Islam. He said, فَالْجِهَادُ أَرْبَعُ مَرَاتِبٍ. Jihad is of 4 levels, or 4 categories for that sake. Jihadun nafsi, the jihad of the soul, your own nafs. Wa jihadu shaytani, and the jihad with the devil. Wa jihadul kuffari, and the jihad of the disbelievers. Wa jihadul munafiqeen, and the jihad with the hypocrites. فأما جهاد النفس فأربع مراتب أيضا. As for the jihad of your own soul, it's also on 4 levels. إحداها, the first of them, أن يجاهدها على تعلم الهدى ودين الحق الذي لا فلاح لها ولا سعادة في معاشها ومعادها إلا به. The first level of fighting against your own soul is to fight your soul to learn about your religion, of which that knowledge you cannot succeed without it. And you can never attain happiness in this world without learning your religion. وَمَتَى فَاتَهَا عِلْمُهُ شَقِيَتْ فِي الدَّارَيْنِ. And whenever you never reach that knowledge which you're supposed to get, you'll always be wretched, unhappy, in this world and the hereafter. That's the first level of you cancelling your plans and say, no, this Saturday 3 p.m. there's a Seerah class. Instead of me watching a movie at home. It requires effort, you fighting your soul. This is jihad itself, you coming here. Number 2, الثانية أن يجاهدها على العمل به بعد علمه. That now you fight your soul to practice the knowledge you have learned, to put that knowledge into action. وإلا, and if not, فمجرد العلم بلا عمل إن لم يضرها لم ينفعها. Knowledge without action, the least is it won't benefit you if it actually won't harm you. Because Allah is going to ask you, you knew, why did you act? Abu Darda, the great companion, radiallahu anhu, his name was Uwaymir. He said, the thing I fear most is on the day of judgment, Allah will say to me, Ya Uwaymir, alimta fabimma amilta. You had knowledge, how did you act? So that's the second level of jihad, to fight yourself. You know this is how it is, now act upon it. Being a good Muslim. Saying I'm a good Muslim is not enough. Be a good Muslim. Number 3, أن يجاهدها على الدعوة إليه وتعليمه من لا يعلمه. Is that now you fight your soul to teach others who don't have the same knowledge you have, and to call people to the knowledge which others they don't have which you have. وَإِلَّا كَانَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْبَيِّنَاتِ. Other than that, you'll be from those people who have knowledge and guidance, but you hide it just for yourself. وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُ عِلْمُهُ وَلَا يُنَجِّيهِ مِنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ. That will not help you, and it will not save you from the punishment of Allah. So you call. And you don't have to go outside to call people. Start with your own close family. Mother, father, sister, brother, wife, husband, son, daughter. If you only taught those ones, khalas, you have done the 3rd level. And the 4th level, أن يجاهدها على الصبر على مشاق الدعوة إلى الله وأذى الخلق ويتحمل ذلك كله لله. That you fight yourself, jihad against your own soul. You fight it to be patient. Because when you call people, they will harm you. They will say bad words to you. Anyone who thinks good is bound to get bad. That's just the nature of things. So you fight your soul in taking that harm. فإذا استكمل هذه المراتب الأربعة, so when you complete these 4 levels of jihad, صار من الربانيين, you become from the lordly people. فإن السلف مجمعون على أن العلم لا يستحق أن يسمى أن العالم لا يستحق أن يسمى ربانيا حتى يعرف الحق ويعمل به ويعلمه فمن علم وعمل وعلم فذاك يدعى عظيما في ملكوت السماوات. Because all of the Salaf, the great scholars of Islam who passed, they agreed, no one can be called a great lordly scholar, Rabbani, except if he knows the truth, he studies, and then he acts upon it, and then he teaches it and calls other people to it. And that is the man who is called great in the high realms. This is the jihad. And this is the jihad you have every day of your life. Every single day you're fighting this one. The second category, أما جهاد الشيطان فمرتبتان, that is to two levels. Fighting the shaitan, the devil, is on two levels. إحداهما, the first one, جهاده على دفع ما يلقى إلى العبد من الشبهات والشكوك والقادحة في الإيمان. It is to fight the devil in the doubts and the corrupt beliefs he puts in your heart. The doubts and the corrupt beliefs he puts in your heart. You see it every day in the media, and then the shaitan comes and puts in your heart, maybe it's true, maybe Islam has a problem. That is the shaitan walking against you. That's one of the biggest jihads you can fight, is to fight him and kick him out of your heart. Because this is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, no doubt. And the shaitan always strives very hard to put doubts in you and corrupt beliefs. Maybe we truly are from apes, Homo sapiens as they call themselves. Right? Maybe our forefathers, they were not created, they came from one supercell, from the Big Bang. You have Muslims who think that. And they say, I'm Muslim, I believe in Allah. Those are doubts which the shaitan puts in your heart. You watch too many movies, too many doubts in your heart. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. Because they're not going to teach you aqidah of the Salaf in Hollywood. Steven Spielberg never studied Usul Sunnah. Yes. Neither did Christopher Nolan or anybody else from the great directors. Martin Scorsese, he never studied Sharh I'tiqad Ahl Sunnah.
How did you know them?
How did I know them? I read. So they teach you in the movies the Greek mythology, right? You have Zeus, he is the Greek great god, and then he came on earth, and he cohabited with human beings, and you have demigods, right? Hercules and all of them. You have Muslims who believe that, especially your children. You don't teach them the proper aqidah. That is kufr, ma ba'dahu kufr. There's no kufr after that. So you have to be careful. That is the other level of al-jihad, is to fight the doubt shaitan puts in your heart. Or they bring you doubts and say, maybe this Quran is not the real Quran. That's a common one. Maybe these hadith, they were written by just people. That's even more common. Because they know if they can disqualify the hadith, you disqualify the Quran. Because how are you going to understand the Quran? So that's the next level. And to be honest, he did not describe, I don't know if he described it here, he described it. Ibn al-Qayyim is the master of this topic. The second level of jihad against the shaitan, fighting the devil. جهاده على دفع ما يلقى إليه من الإرادات الفاسدة والشهوات. It is to fight the devil when he puts into you the evil whispers and evil intentions so that you do evil actions. The devil fights us in two things, guys. To corrupt our belief or corrupt our actions. Simple. So he comes to you and says, just take it. It's not actually stealing, you're just taking. You know that one, huh? You're not stealing, you're taking. You're stealing, Habibi. I said, don't worry. Nobody's seeing you, just do it. So you fight the devil when he calls you to do actions which are haram. He says now, Ibn al-Qayyim, فَالْجِهَادُ الْأَوَّلِ, the first one against the shaitan, يَكُونُ بَعْدَهُ الْيَقِينَ. If you fight him to repel the evil beliefs, corrupted beliefs, now you have yaqeen, certainty in your heart. وَالثَّانِ, and the second one, بَعْدَهُ الصَّبْرُ. It can only come with patience. Haram is easy, especially for us today, living in the society we live, in the time we live. In fact, haram is easier than halal in some issues, right or wrong. You have to have sabr. Sabr, patience, fighting your soul. That is jihad. قال تعالى, Allah, He says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. Allah says in Surah Al-Sajdah, number 24, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً, and we made from them leaders. يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا, guiding people by our command. Pay attention to this verse. We made from them leaders, guiding people by our command. لَمَّا صَبَرُوا, they became leaders when? When they were patient. وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ, and they had yaqeen in our verses. فأخبر سبحانه وتعالى, so Allah the Mighty and Exalted informed, أن إمامة الدين, that becoming a leader in the religion, إنما تنال, it is only reached, you can only reach that level by what? بالصبر واليقين, by patience and by having certainty. فالصبر, so patience, يدفع الشهوات والإرادات الفاسدة. Patience, it kicks away and removes and fights the evil intentions of wanting to do evil. وَالْيَقِينُ, and certainty, يَدْفَعُ الشُّكُوكَ وَالشُّبُهَاتِ, it kicks away and repels the corrupt beliefs. In fact, Ibn Qayyim, he has a whole book, he discusses this. So that's the next level, or the next category is fighting jihad shaitan, fighting the shaitan. The next one he says, وَأَمَّا جِهَادُ الْكُفَّارِ الْمُنَافِقِينَ, as for fighting the kuffar, the disbelievers, and the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, فَأَرْبَعُ مَرَاتِبْ, is on 4 levels also. بِالْقَلْبِ, with your heart, وَبِاللِّسَانِ, by your tongue, وَالْمَالِ, by your wealth, وَالنَّفْسِ, by yourself. وَجِهَادُ الْكُفَّارِ أَخَصُّ بِالْيَدِ, and fighting the disbelievers is specifically by the hand. وَجِهَادُ الْمُنَافِقِينَ, while the hypocrites, أَخَصُّ بِاللِّسَانِ, is by the tongue. وَأَمَّا جِهَادُ أَرْبَابِ الظُّلْمِ وَالْبِدْعِ وَالْمُنكَرَاتِ, as for fighting the people who are the oppressors and the leaders of innovations, فَثَلَاثُ مَرَاتِبِ, is on 3 levels. بِالْيَدِ, by your hand if you can, إِذَا قَدَرَ, فَإِنْ عَجَزَ, if you can't, انتقل اللسان, by your tongue, speaking against that evil. That is jihad. فَإِنْ عَجَزَ, if you can't, جَاهَدَ بِقَلْبِهِ, he does it with his tongue. فَهَذِهِ ثَلَاثَةَ عَشَرَ مَرْتَبَةً مِنَ الْجِهَادِ, these are 13 levels of jihad. And then he finished off with the hadith which says, وَمَنْ مَاتَ وَلَمْ يَغْزُ وَلَمْ يُحَدِّثْ نَفْسَهُ بِالْغَزْوِ مَاتَ عَلَى شُعْبَةٍ مِنَ النِّفَاقِ. So, you now, of all people, should understand, when the word jihad is mentioned, is not what?
Not fight.
Holy war. What holy war? There's no holy war, man. War is not holy. How can war be holy? People are being killed. It is fighting. And it's on different levels. And the fighting in the field is so rare. The fighting against yourself, the 4 levels. And the fighting against the shaitan, the 2 levels. That is every day. Every day, me and you, we wake up today, we're in that jihad. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالْمُجَاهِدُ مَنْ جَاهَدَ نَفْسَهُ فِي طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ. The real mujahid is the one who fights his soul to become obedient to Allah. And that is because the one who cannot fight his soul will never go outside and fight the enemy. Impossible. So this is something you have to understand. Adding to that, I don't know if you have time though. I will stop here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. So at this moment, in the first year of the Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ and the believers are commanded to take up arms and to defend themselves physically, to fight. And not just fight as to wait for the enemy, rather they were to go out in search of the enemy. And of course, the enemy at this moment was the Quraysh of Mecca. Now, of course, this is a touchy subject within the Muslims, and with the non-Muslims, people tend to misunderstand this topic. So we're going to spend a bit of time on it. The Prophet ﷺ, he was sent bil huda, with guidance and the right religion, the religion of Rahmah, mercy. He called these people in Mecca using wisdom, nice words, as we have seen. It's a bit too loud. Can you just put it down a bit? It's too loud. That's why he's making that. He called his people with nice words to the best of his ability. But they, most of them, turned around with violence, rejection, denial. They attacked him and attacked his followers, took their wealth, set up economic embargoes, sanctions, which we also even killed some of them, let alone the various forms of torture and persecution they used against them. Yet, in those 13 years in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ, he was never commanded to fight. In fact, if we see some of the verses of the Quran which used to come at that time, it was the opposite. He was commanded, as were the Muslims, to return and to respond to the violence of the Quraysh by patience and doing good to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, he says to him in Surah At-Tur, وَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا. Be patient by the command of your Lord, because you are under our eyes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said to him in Surah Zukhruf, فَاصْفَحْ عَنْهُمْ وَقُلْ سَلَامٌ فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Forgive them and say to them, salam, peace, but one day you shall know the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to his Prophet, فَاصْفَحِ الصَّفْحَ الْجَمِيلِ. Forgive them and overlook a nice way. Surah Al-Hijr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَغْفِرُوا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ أَيَّامَ اللَّهِ. Say to the believers, let them forgive those people who are the disbelievers. Surah Al-Jathiyah. And so many more verses. The Prophet ﷺ, he was commanded to respond to the enmity, the evil, the abuse, the torture, the persecution, the violence with good. Be patient. Forgive them. Overlook. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him and the believers, idfa' billati hiya ahsanu sayyi'ah nahnu a'lamu bima yasifun. You should respond to their evil actions with what is good. Do good to them. We know best what they do, Allah says, Surah Al-Mu'minun. So the believers, they were commanded not just not to fight, they were actually commanded to do the opposite. Return the evil they do with good. And so many more verses, so many more verses. Patience, patience, patience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to his Prophet, فَاصْبِرْ كَمَا صَبَرَ أُولُو الْعَزْمِ مِنَ الرُّسُلِ. Be patient, just like the great patient, the strong-willed patient prophets before you they were. Because every prophet was tested like that. In fact, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they could not even take it anymore, because a human being can only take torture, persecution, abuse just to a certain limit. So there's various ahadith where they used to come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and yet he will turn them down. Abdullah bin Abbas, we know the story of Al Yasir, the family of Yasir. Yasir and his wife Sumayya and their son Ammar. We went through those stories. They used to be tortured to the point that they killed Sumayya. and Ammar, the father Yasir. Yet when the Prophet ﷺ used to pass by them, did he say fight back? He used to say to them what? Sabran ala Yasir fa inna maw'idakum al-jannah. Be patient, because your promise, your meeting is in Jannah. Tayyib. In the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that Abdurrahman bin Auf and his companions, his friends, as you know, Abdurrahman is one of the first people to accept Islam. أتوا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بمكة فقالوا, they came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم during the days of Makkah, and they said to him, Ya Rasulullah, our Messenger of Allah, إنا كنا في عز ونحن مشركون. We used to be mighty when we were disbelievers. فلما آمنا صرنا أذلة. Once we believed in you and we became Muslims, we became lowly, weak people, tortured, persecuted, abused. يريدون بذلك أن يأذن لهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقاتل الكفار. Meaning by those words, they want the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم to give them permission to fight. فقال, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he responded to Abdurrahman and his friends, saying to them, إني أمرت بالعفو فلا تقاتلوا. I have been commanded to forgive, don't fight. This is in Sunan An-Nasai. Khabbab ibn al-Arat radiyallahu anhu. Khabbab ibn al-Arat, he says, شكونا إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو متوسد بردة له في ظل الكعبة. He says, one day we came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم while he had put down his robe, his burda, and he was sitting, leaning on the Kaaba, under the shade of the Kaaba. وَلَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ شِدَّةً. And the mushrikeen, the polytheists, they used to torture us very bad. We talked about Khabbab, how they used to torture him. فَقُلْنَا, we said to him, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أَلَا تَسْتَنْصُرْ لَنَا أَلَا تَدْعُ لَنَا. Why don't you ask Allah to give us victory and help us? Why don't you make dua for us? This tells you, Ikhwan, Akhawat, for it to reach this level, it reached a level is unbearable. For them to come to the Prophet ﷺ and say, why don't you make dua for us? Why don't you ask Allah to destroy them? فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم, look at the response of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said to them, قد كان من قبلكم يؤخذ الرجل فيحفر في الأرض أو فيحفر له في الأرض فيجعل فيها ثم يؤتى بالمنشار فيوضع على رأسه. Those Muslims before you, they suffered more than you. One of them will be taken and they'll dig a hole on the ground and they'll put him in the hole. And then they'll take a saw and put it in the middle of his head. فَيُجْعَلُ نِصْفَيْنِ, and they would saw him into two halves. وَيُمْشَى بِأَمْشَاطِ الْحَدِيدِ مَا دُونَ لَحْمِهِ وَعَظَمِهِ. And they will take combs, like the comb you comb your hair with, but a comb made of iron. And they would put it in between his flesh and his bone and scrape out his flesh like that. مَا يَسُدُّهُ عَنْ دِينِهِ. But even that never made them to change their religion. Wallahi, the Prophet ﷺ continued to say to them, by Allah, لَيُتَمَّنَّ اللَّهُ هَذَا الْأَمْرَ. Allah will give success and complete this matter of Islam. حَتَّى سِيرُ الرَّاكِبُ مِنَ الصَّنْعَاءِ إِلَى حَضْرَمَوْتِ. To the point that someone will travel on his horse or camel from Sana'a in Yemen to Hadramaut. لَا يَخَافُ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. He will not fear the kuffar anymore, he only fears Allah. وَالذِّئْبُ عَلَى غَنَمِهِ. And the wolf attacking his sheep. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ قَوْمٌ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. But you are people, you hasten, you like things quick. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ قَوْمٌ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. But you are people, you like things quick. So this was the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. So not only was he commanded to be patient, his companions, when they could not take it, he had to make them patient. And He gave them the prophecies. One day Allah will complete this matter. That is why those with strong iman, they knew, okay, this was the truth. But those with weak iman, they left Islam. They said, how? If you remember, some of them said what? They said, Muhammad, he promises us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the treasures of Qisra and Qaisar, Persian Rome. And today we cannot even go out to urinate, we fear. Tayyib. And this shows us and teaches us. Like Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentioned from that verse in Surah Al-Sajdah, An-Nasr wa-Tamkeen, victory and being on top for the Muslims, it doesn't come without being patient. And patience, it means you have to be tested. So the Prophet ﷺ said to them who were being tortured in very bad ways, those before you, someone would be split into half by a sword. Or someone, they would use a comb of iron on his flesh and take out his flesh. But that did not make him or her leave his religion. As Allah also gave them and us examples. وَمَا نَقَوْا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. The only thing they did to the Ashab al-Ukhdud, they threw them in the fire alive. The only sin was what? They're just Muslims, that's the sin. So they were commanded to patience. They were told to be patient. And they saw the Prophet ﷺ himself, he used to be tortured. We mentioned all of those stories. So nobody was told fight. Nobody was told bear arms. No. Be patient. Forgive. But after all those years, they could not take it anymore. So Allah gave them a respite. Go to Habasha. They could not. Allah told them, now go to Medina, all of you. So now they are in Medina. They still live in fear. The Quraysh, they're trying to walk with the Jews of Medina and the Mushrik of Medina inside. Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul just saw that, to fight against the Muslims. That is when Allah, He gave permission that they could fight. Nobody in his proper mind, which is sound and safe, can say these are people who should not fight. Even an animal, if you corner it in the corner, it will fight back. That's just basic life. Right? So Allah gave them the permission, now they can fight. How did this permission to fight come? It came in stages. It came in stages. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to the believers, in Surah Al-Hajj, أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ. Allah says, أُذِنَ, they have been given permission now. Who are they? الَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ, those who have been fought, persecuted, tortured. Why are they given permission to fight? Because they are ظُلِمُوا, they have been oppressed. Simple. Abdullah bin Abbas, he said, once that verse was revealed in Surah Al-Hajj, we knew that now there's going to be fighting. The verse did not say go and fight, no. It says those who have been oppressed, they have been given permission now. Why? Because they have been oppressed. and they've been fought. And then Allah finished by saying, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ. If Allah wanted, He can help them right off. Who are they? الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ. They are the ones who have been kicked out, expelled from their land, which is Makkah. بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ. With no rightful reason. With no rightful reason. So Surah Hajj, that was the first permission that now you can defend yourself. Now you can defend yourself. And that is Surah Hajj, verse number what? That is verse number 39. الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ. They are the ones who have been kicked out of their lands. بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ. With no right. إِلَّا أَن يَقُولُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ. The only sin they committed was to say what? Allah is our God. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ الصَّوَامِعُ وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا. And if it was not for Allah to allow some humans to fight others, then a lot of the places of worship will be destroyed. وَلَيَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ. And Allah will give victory to the one who helps Allah's religion. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Allah is the most mighty, the most strong. Who are these people who have been given permission to fight? Verse number 42 now. Or 41, sorry. Surah Hajj. الَّذِينَ إِن مَّكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. They are the ones, if we give them authority on the land, أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ. They establish the prayer. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. And they give the zakah. وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And they'll command the good. وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. They'll forbid the evil. وَلِلَّهِ عَاقِبَةُ الْأُمُورِ. And all the matters at the end are in the hands of Allah. Al-Imam Ibn Kathir, he says, Allah, He commissioned and legislated and prescribed fighting at the right time. In fact, at the best time. Because in Makkah, number one, the mushrikun was so much more. In numbers, the Muslims could not fight. Like we said, the Muslims were what? Barely 80. There was no way they could fight the whole of Makkah. Number two, now the Muslims, they had enough support from the people of Medina. And if you remember also, during the pledge of Aqaba, when the Ansar came and they said, now we give the pledge of allegiance to defend you, and you should come to Makkah, you are one of us. If you remember that. Al-Abbas, he said to them, do you know what you're saying to my nephew? That you will defend him like you defend your own families. And they said yes. And then the shaitan, he called out, announcing that Muhammad ﷺ is meeting with the people of Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ said to them, go back to your tents. And they said, why do you fear, Messenger of Allah? If you want, tomorrow we'll fill all of these tents with swords. And the Prophet ﷺ said to them, what? No, I have been not commanded to fight. So now he's been given the permission to fight. أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he said, أَخْرَجُوا نَبِيَّهُمْ. They have taken out their own prophet from his land. إِنَّ لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We belong to Allah and to Him we shall return. This is when they reached Medina. Then is when Allah revealed this verse. Now you can defend yourself. Because you are the ones who have been oppressed. And that is why he said, Ibn Abbas, this was the first verse to be revealed about fighting. That you can defend yourself. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave a promise to His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While they were in Medina, we mentioned how they could not even sleep without being worried. One day they said to each other, do you think there'll ever come a day we'll live without fear? You know, the poor person always dreams. You think there'll come a day I won't fear poverty? And the person who's always in danger, he'll say to himself, do you think there'll come a day I'm just safe? And the person who's sick always tells himself, do you think there'll come a day I'm actually healthy? We are human beings, we're like that. So one day they were sitting together, full of fear at night. They have to sleep with their weapons. They said, do you think there'll come a day we don't have fear? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse in Surah An-Nur. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَى لَهُمْ وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. Allah says. Surah An-Nur verse 55. Allah said to them, and this is a verse every Muslim should understand. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ, Allah has given a promise. Allah huwa al-haq wa qawluhu al-haq. Allah is the truth, His word is the truth. So if Allah gives a promise, we should listen. What is this promise? And who is He giving the promise to? وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. This promise is the exclusive promise. Allah is giving it to those who have correct belief and good actions. It's not a promise just because you are Muhammad or Fatima now. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those of you who have believed, proper belief, and you do righteous actions. What is the promise? لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah will make you the rulers on this earth. Not the oppressed, not the weak ones, no. Allah will make you on top. كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Just like Allah made the other Muslims on top, before you. Musa alayhi salam and his people, they used to be tortured, Banu Israel, right around by Fir'aun. Then they became on top. إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ لِلَّهِ يُرِثُهَا مَنْ يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ. This earth belongs to Allah, He gives it to whom He wants. So Allah has given a promise to those who believe and do righteous actions. لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. He shall make you the rulers of this earth. كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Just like He made those Muslims before you. And number two, وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَى لَهُمْ. And Allah will establish for you the religion which He chose for you. Meaning Islam and the right Islam. That religion, Allah will establish it on this earth. And number three, the third promise, وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. And Allah will change the fear they have. Allah will replace it with security and safe and peace. And this is what they were asking each other. Is there going to come a day we won't be afraid? So Allah is promising them. Allah will change the fear you have into peace and safety and security and tranquility of the heart. When and who? يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. It's only the people who are upon proper tawheed. They do not associate shuraka with me, Allah says. So Allah revealed this verse. One day the Sahaba said, when are we going to have peace and security? And because they were people of correct belief and righteous actions, Allah gave them that. As we're going to see in the Seerah now. Allah gave them tamkeen. Allah made them the khulafa of this earth. Islam reached China, Europe, Africa. And Allah established the religion and Allah changed the khawf, the fear they had into peace and security. Such that a woman could travel from Yemen by herself all the way to Mecca. And she doesn't fear anything except the wolf. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the next step, Allah, He told them, now you should fight those who fight you. First they were told, you are given permission. Now they are commanded, go and fight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. Al-Baqarah 190. وَقَاتِلُوا and fight فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ What do you fight for though? So that I can be seen I'm a warrior, I'm courageous? No. I'm fighting because this is my land? No. I'm fighting so I can get money? No. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. You fight for Allah's cause. And who do you fight? الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. Those who fought you. Those who fought you, and this of course specifically then was what? The Quraysh. Fight them now. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. But do not pass the limits, do not transgress. إِنَّ اللَّهَ. Indeed Allah does not love those who pass the limits. Imagine Allah gave them permission and then warned them, don't pass the limits though. And that is the Islamic method of defending yourself and fighting. You know, last week or whatever, they had this foolish thing, pardon my language, some of you don't like that language. Foolish, very stupid in fact. Punish a Muslim day. And some people are panicking. Don't panic. Anyone who comes to you and slaps you, you slap him back. Anyone who punches you, you punch him back. It's called self-defense in the court of law. Islamically, this is what Allah has told us. Don't do it more than he did. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Don't pass the limits. Yes, I don't agree with those so-called imams or they say, oh, it's punished Muslim Day, don't go outside today. Why? That's what they want. A Muslim is not a coward. Never. We are not problem-causing people. But at the same time, we're not cowards. So fight those who fight you and don't pass the limits, Allah told them. And then the third, this is the fourth stage. The fourth stage, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go out and look for them now. Because they killed you, persecuted you, took your money in Makkah, now you go back for revenge. And they are still trying to fight you, causing problems in Medina. You should go out. You know, they say the best form of defense is what? Attack. Very good. They're in fear. They can't even sleep. Aisha, who's the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, says, we couldn't even sleep. We're afraid. Imagine. We human beings are like that. We human beings are like that. If you know someone is weak, they use a good word in school, especially we bully them, right? Because they're weak. They can't do anything. But if they stand up for themselves just one day, what happens? The bullying stops. Yes, because you know he can fight back. And this was what Allah was telling the believers. Show them you can fight back. So they will tone down their oppression and their aggression. So Allah said to the believers in Surah Al-Tawbah 36, Surah Al-Anfal 39, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. Fight them until there's no more fitna. And the whole religion is for Allah. And Allah told the believers, because there's no human being who loves to fight. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ. You have been told now you can fight, but Allah says, I know that you don't like it. Who likes to fight? Nobody loves to fight. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ though. Maybe you dislike something, but it's good for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. Maybe you love something, but it's not good for you. So these were the stages in the prescription of fighting in Islam. And of course, the fighting itself, they had a strict set of codes and laws and conduct. Islam is not a religion of chaos, not in any sense. Not in any sense. Number one, it's not upon you, the individual, to say, yeah, now I'm fighting for Allah's cause. No. That's not fighting. You have your own battle. Battle your soul and your shaitan. The fighting with the sword, it has to be under the Muslim leader. No chaos. It's not a religion of chaos. See some foolish people, he goes out, he sees a policeman, throws a rock at him, or goes and stabs him. Say this is jihad. What jihad is? That's not jihad. If you died, you're going to the hellfire, my friend. No. That's the reality. It's not chaos. Or he straps a vest of a bomb and goes and blows himself up at Walmart or in the subway. Jihad fi, what jihad fi sabilillah? You're going to the hellfire forever. Forever. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, Man qatala nafsa, whoever kills himself, he'll be in the hellfire forever. Strict laws and orders. Whenever they used to go out to fight, they'll be told, Ughzu fi sabili, Bismillahi fi sabilillah. Go by the name of Allah and fight only for Allah. And when you get there, the first thing you do, ud'uhum ila al-Islam. Call those people to Islam. That is the code of law in Islam, and the code of fighting. The goal is not to shed blood. The goal is not to fight. The goal is to establish justice. Go there and call them to Islam. If they accept Islam, khalas, there's no fighting. If they say we don't accept Islam but we won't stop you from preaching Islam and practicing, khalas, there's no fighting. That is how it is. That is how it is. Now someone might say, oh, but you know, why are we talking about this right now? Maybe some of you are scared to death of going home. You guys were in that lecture when they talked about jihad. No, you can't escape this. This is part of our religion. It's part of human nature. What is the first verse again? أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتَلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا. They have been given permission to fight because they have been oppressed. That is in the UN, United Nations Charter of Laws. Every nation has the right to defend itself by fighting. Even if the threat is not physical, you just think, these guys are threatening us, you have the right to go to war. It's the same thing in Islam. So why are we afraid and ashamed to talk about it? Same thing. We fight because we're oppressed. Or we fight because we fear the oppression of people. And what greater oppression is than that of people stopping people from worshipping their one Lord? That is the greatest dhulm, shirk. The law of self-defense, it exists in every country. I think it exists in Mars also. There's no human beings. If you're attacked, you have the right to defend yourself. Simple. That is what al-jihad is. And that is when the Muslims fought, because they had been tortured, persecuted, killed for 13 years. With strict laws. They were told, the Muslims, لا تغدروا, don't cheat in your fighting. لا تغلوا, don't steal. Don't steal. وَلَا تُمَثِّلُوا, and even when you're fighting and you struck your enemy, don't do the mutilation. They call it mutilation. Like how they did to the Muslims in some countries and put them up and took pictures. And the Muslim fighting is for the greater goal, I'm saying again, to remove oppression, dhulm. Yet today we are okay with nations which go to fight for oil. Let's invade Iraq, because there's a lot of oil there. And everybody was cheering. That fighting is allowed. Yet those who fight against oppression, dhulm, is disallowed? How? That is what al-jihad is. Today every nation can do that. We're going to go fight because we feel they're a threat. Well, that's what jihad is. So next time someone tells, oh, jihad, this and that, no. Tell them it's the same thing you have. Every nation has a minister of defense. And in fact, most nations in this world of today, maybe 40-50% of their budgets goes to defense, buying missiles and rockets and every weapons. That's the same thing in Islam. So why can you do it today, but if the Muslims even just talk about it, oh, look at these Muslims. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And when the Muslims are told to go out and fight because there's oppression in the land, today in the democratic countries is the same thing. These people, this is a dictator, and he oppresses his people, and he holds back the resources. We're going to go and give them freedom, which is never coming, by the way. Same thing. As Muslims, we should not be afraid to speak the truth. This is the truth. This is the truth. Which also brings me to the other point, because some people understand jihad means what? Islam says anyone who's not Muslim, go kill them. No, you're crazy. Because we just learned yesterday, the Prophet ﷺ, he wrote treaties and contracts with who? The Jews of Medina and the Mushrikun, the polytheists of Medina. Why didn't you say no, they all have to be killed? Because that is not Islam. So these people who fight them back. People who are oppressors, fight them back. People who are peaceful to you, they're peaceful to us. We co-live and coexist. That is how every nation exists. That is jihad in very simple terms. In very simple terms. And jihad is a fiqh issue, if you didn't know. There's no book. You're Hanbali. You were supposed to be Maliki, then you dropped out. I am Shafi'i, who's left? You're probably Hanafi. For sure you're Hanafi. Yes. Any book of Hanafi fiqh, you'll find Kitab al-Jihad. Hanbali fiqh, Kitab al-Jihad. Because it's just another chapter of fiqh. It has its rules, its conditions, its manners. This is how it's done. Let me ask you a simple question. Can we pray Isha right now?
No.
I've had a long day, bro. Why don't you just pray Isha so I can go and rest? You can't. Why? Why can't you pray Isha right now? It's what, 6:45? Because it's not the time. Every prayer has its condition, right? The proper time is one of the conditions. Jihad is the same thing. Not just you wake up one day and say, oh, jihad. No. It's not for you, number one. Number two, the proper conditions are not there. And like I said, it's a whole chapter. Just like we were to talk about salah, we won't finish today. Jihad is the same thing. But this is the, as they say in English, in a nutshell. There's no human nation which should accept oppression and suffering. And that is what Allah, He gave His command now to His Prophet ﷺ after almost 14 years. Now you can defend yourself. Now you can fight them. Now you can fight them. So these are the stages on which it was prescribed. Briefly speaking. And they were told also, you fight only those who fight you. Simple, very simple. So even if there are men in that community and they're not fighting you, don't fight them. The priest, the deacon, the monk, the rabbi, in his place of worship, he's not fighting you, leave him alone. Don't kill women, ever. Don't kill children. Don't steal from their wealth to pillage. The armies of today, that's how they get their training. War is pillage. When they go and steal and destroy everything. These are the strict codes of the Muslim. You know of the person who he went to war with the Prophet ﷺ, and he used to be a great warrior. And they said, Fulan is in Jannah. The way he's fighting. And the Prophet ﷺ said to them, what? No, he's going to the hellfire. Abdullah bin Umar, he said, we were shocked. So I followed him the next day in battle. And I saw that he stole. Oh, that was another narration. So I saw that he was injured. He was injured. So he put his spear on the ground and killed himself. We came back to the Prophet ﷺ, we said, we truly believe you are the Messenger of Allah. He said, why? They said, the man you said is going to the hellfire, and we thought he's a great warrior fighting for Islam. He killed himself. Imagine. Yet today some what is the word? Some brainwashed young people think that going and blowing yourself up, you're going to Jannah. You're not. There's nothing like that. The Prophet ﷺ said about this man, he's going to the hellfire, he killed himself. He didn't kill other people, imagine. You today go and try to kill innocent people? That is not Islam. Another man, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, they said, oh, he's a great warrior. He said, no, he's going to the hellfire because he stole a robe. Allah says, وَمَنْ يَغْلُلْ يَأْتِ بِمَا غَلَّ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Whoever steals will come with what he steals on the day of judgment. And they were told, Al-Imam ibn Qayyim, he says, it says here actually the legislation of Islam with respect to fighting, just like any other nation, past and present, is to fight the one who transgresses and fight it. See Article 51 of the UN Charter, United Nations Charter. Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, killing or fighting actually was ordered as a result of those who fight Islam, not as a consequence of disbelief. That is why it is prohibited to kill women, children, the sickly, the blind. Even the monks are not participating in war, even though they are disbelievers. We only fight those who fight us. We only fight the people of oppression. I can quote more and more, but I think that is more than enough. So anybody who tries to tell you otherwise, don't fall for that. And that is the importance of learning your religion. Otherwise it's easy, especially you young men and women. Someone shows you those emotional videos of Muslims being killed somewhere, and they put those emotional nasheeds for you, you know, and they tell you, yeah, get on the plane. You don't have to tell your father and your mother, because this is jihad between you and Allah. Get on the plane and go on a mission, jihad. That's not jihad. That's not. The man who came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, I want to go fight with you. But I came from Yemen. Imagine, he came from Yemen all the way to Medina. The Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, where are your parents alive? He said, yeah, I left them in Yemen. I came to fight with you. Actually, I left them. They were not happy. They were crying. The Prophet ﷺ said, go back and make them laugh. The other one who came and said, oh Ya Rasulullah, I want to go fight. And the Prophet ﷺ turned away. He came the other side, I want to go fight with you. He turned away. Third time, he said, what's wrong with you? He said, I want Jannah. The man said to the Prophet ﷺ, I want Jannah. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do you have a mother who's alive? He said, yes. He said, go to her feet. فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ عِنْدَ أَقْدَامِهَا. Because your Jannah is you lowering yourself to be under her feet. So, don't get it twisted as we say. Learn your deen. The problem is when you don't learn your religion. When you don't learn your religion from the proper sources, then you get corrupted beliefs. Okay, enough of that. So, they were commanded now, they can go and fight. I want to emphasize again, the treaties we signed yesterday, the Prophet ﷺ signed with them what? When we fight, you fight with us. If the Quraysh was to attack, you defend with us, the non-Muslims, the Jews and the raheequl Arab. So, now we step on that. Actually, what are the reasons they were given this permission to fight? Number one, so that the oppression of the Quraysh will stop after all these years. Number two, so that they can have peace and security, because no human being can survive like that all those years. Number three, that peace and security will bring about opportunities of da'wah. Opportunities of da'wah. Number 4, it will be easy for them to travel the land and to earn their living. These are some of the wisdoms why Allah gave them permission to go ahead and to fight. And number 5, also to show the Jews of Medina and those who are not yet Muslims of the Arabs who are still plotting against them, to show them that we are strong also. Like we said, we human beings are like that. We pick on the one who's weak always. But if someone stands up for himself or herself, we stop. So the Muslims are told, stand up for yourself now. It's time. So people know that you're a force to be reckoned with. So the Prophet ﷺ, he started by doing 2 things. Number 1, he started to isolate the Quraysh. So he started to make peace with the other Arabs outside of Medina. Either by taking an army there and convincing them, or maybe even fighting them, even though it never happened. Because once you isolate the enemy, it becomes easy to tackle them. And number 2, because remember, they're still a small army, they have never fought before. He started to target the trade caravans of the Quraysh. We talked about these guys. Makkah is a desert, there's nothing there. The only way they have their income, their food, whatever, is through what? What trade specifically?
Irish culture.
It's in the Quran. We said the Seerah is in the Quran. Very good. رحلة الشتاء والصيف. The travel of the الشتاء, travel of winter, and travel of summer. In winter they used to go where? Yemen. رحلة الشتاء, they used to go to Yemen. And رحلة الصيف, summer, they used to go to Sham. That's what the Quraysh of Makkah used to do. So now, Sham and Yemen, most of it, especially the travel to Sham, it has to go through the environs of Medina. And that was the bigger trade, the trade to Sham. So the Prophet ﷺ decided to target those caravans. Some might say, why though? Remember, they were kicked out of Mecca and all of the wealth was taken. These people are doing trade with their money, in fact. Remember the story of Suhaib al-Rumi? When he made hijrah, and they stopped him, they said, oh, you came from Rome, you are nothing. You stayed here in Mecca, you made so much money, now you're going with all the money. He said, take the money. And others. So these are the first steps the Prophet ﷺ, he took. Cutting off the caravans. Tayyib, that's what you have on page number now, 239? Yes, 239 was the start. 243. Now before I go to that, maybe I should summarize so you guys get a clear picture. How many battles did the Prophet ﷺ fight? How many battles did he fight? Or how many battles did they fight during his life?
Many.
Many is a very safe answer. Huh? 5? No, not 3, for sure not 3. They differed, listen, they differed. But in short, if you read in Arabic, you'll see these 2 words being used. You'll see the word saraya or sariyatun, which is one, plural is saraya. In English you say expedition. Or you see the word ghazwa. In English you say war, battle. In Arabic they differentiate. They say saraya or sariyatun is any battle which he did not go personally. And ghazwa is when he participated personally, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are around 17 or 19. 17 or 19. Yes. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the believers, they shed a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, spent a lot of money, time, effort for us to have Islam today. The main battles though, the main ones are 5 or 6. Number 1 is Badr. Okay? And Badr is the first one, that is tomorrow inshallah. Badr is the first one, the major one, the best one, the greatest one. Badr. And it's called Badr because the place they fought is called Badr. Number 2, you have Uhud. Uhud is right after Badr because the mushrikun, the kuffar, they wanted revenge. It's called Uhud, it was fought in Uhud, the place called Uhud, which is today just part of Medina. Number 3, you have Al-Khandaq. It's also called Al-Ahzab. Okay, Surah Al-Ahzab is all about that. The trench. The trench. Number 4, you have Khaybar. Khaybar is the place called Khaybar. You're going to go through that. Number 5, we have Fathu Makkah. Even though it's categorized as a battle, there wasn't no real fighting. The Muslims going back to cleanse Makkah and taking back Makkah. Number what? 6? Cannot be 6. 6, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 is Hunayn. Because it was fought in the place called Hunayn. And 7 is Tabuk. It was fought in the place called Tabuk. And if I'm not wrong, that was the last battle the Prophet ﷺ went to. And these 7, they are all detailed in the Quran. Detailed. But more so, Badr and Tabuk. Badr, which we're going to discuss tomorrow, inshallah. Surah Al-Anfal is all about Badr. Some verses of Al-Baqarah, some verses of Al-Imran, if I'm not wrong. Al-Imran, most of it is Uhud. Some of it, just 1-2 verses is Badr. Of course, in the Quran is also mentioned Banu Nadir, the battle of Banu Nadir, and that is Surah Al-Hashr. Surah Al-Hashr. How does Surah Al-Hashr start? How does Hashr start? Has to be Sabbaha Lillah.
سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم الذي أخرج الذين كفروا من ديارهم لأول عشر.
Yes, Yawm al-Hashri, that is also a battle. But the main ones are 7 guys. Badr, Uhud, Khandaq or Ahzab, Fath Makkah, Hunayn and Tabuk. And Khaybar before that, Ahsan. So we're going to go through all of that because this is the history of Islam. Okay? But before the first one, the greatest one, Badr, when the Prophet ﷺ was given permission, he set out small armies, groups of maybe sometimes 10 people, to go on some missions. This is page number 243. 243. And we'll finish off with this today. It's enough for today. It says, 243. With a view to implement these plans, the Muslims started real military activities which at first took the form of survey patrols, delegated to explore the geopolitical features of the roads surrounding Medina and others leading to Mecca, and building alliances with the tribes nearby. So they were sent out in groups to go and look and to make alliances with the tribes which are just outside of Medina. Now again, you can send one person as an ambassador to go and make alliance, or you can send an army, a group of people, And now they really sign a deal. Human beings, sadly, will respond to force. So, the Prophet ﷺ wanted to impress upon the polytheists and Jews of Medina, as well as the Bedouins in his vicinity, that the Muslims had smashed their old fears and had become so strong that they cannot be attacked without receiving any harm from them. Meaning now we want to show that we will stand for ourselves. He also wanted to display the power of his followers in order to discourage the Quraysh from committing any military folly against him which might put in danger the economic life and means of living. And to stop them, the Quraysh, from persecuting the helpless Muslims detained in Mecca. Remember, there were still Muslims in Mecca, and the Quraysh was still torturing them. So if the Muslims of Medina, they show they're strong, that torture will be cut down. Consequently, he would avail himself of this opportunity and resume his job of propagating the divine call free. The following is a summary of these missions and errands. The first one, the first expedition to be sent out in Islam, is called Seerah to Sayf al-Bahr. What does Sayf al-Bahr mean? What does Sayf al-Bahr mean? Literally the sword of the sea. Means the shore or the coastline. They were sent to the shore of the coastline, to the tribes which were there. It occurred in Ramadan 1 AH, meaning the first year of Hijrah. Okay? It was led by Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, the great warrior. If you have your book, I'm just reading from the book. Comprising 30 muhajirun. Now pay attention. Hamza was leading a group of 30 muhajirun, people who came from Mecca, immigrants, with a definite task of intercepting a caravan belonging to the Quraysh. They heard there was a trade caravan of the Quraysh, so they were going to intercept it. It was a caravan of 300 people, including Abu Jahl ibn Hisham, the great criminal. The two parties though encountered each other and they aligned in preparation for fighting. 30 people against 300. But there was a man called Masjid ibn Amr, and he was on good terms with the Muslims and the Quraysh. So he, what is the word? To talk to both sides. He negotiated with both sides and they avoided fighting. And he managed to prevent an imminent clash. On that occasion, the Prophet ﷺ created the first flag of the Muslims. And the Muslim army goes to fight. Before, this is the tradition. Every army has a carrier of the flag. In fact, when they used to fight, probably you guys watch movies, you've seen that. The flag carrier. Before, when they used to fight, if the flag went down, it means you guys lost. So if the one who's carrying the flag, he was killed or injured, someone else has to carry the flag. So this was the first flag the Muslims had. The Prophet ﷺ handed out, and it was white in color, and it was entrusted to Abu Marthad al-Ghanawi radiyallahu anhu. Seerah to Sayf al-Bahr. The second one, the Prophet ﷺ, he sent them to ar-Rahmah. Ar-Rahmah. Ar-Rahmah is close to Jeddah. Am I right or wrong? Yes, today Jeddah, Rahmah is close to there.
1 hour drive.
1 hour drive. The Prophet ﷺ in the next month, Shawwal, he dispatched Ubaidah ibn al-Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib. Ubaidah ibn al-Harith. Who is he? We talked about him, guys. Just look at his name. Ubaidah ibn al-Harith ibn al-Muttalib. He's the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, he's Ubaidah, the son of Harith. The Prophet ﷺ is Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, and all of them, their grandfather is Abdul Muttalib. So the Prophet ﷺ, look, I told you, pay attention. The first Sariyah, who was in charge? Hamza. This one, who's in charge? Ubaidah. Now listen, he went out at the head of 60 horsemen. There were 60 of them. And all of them were the Muhajirun. And they went to a spot called Batnu Rabiq, where they encountered Abu Sufyan at the head of a caravan of 200 men. There were arrows which were shot. There were arrows which were shot, but there was no actual fighting. It is interesting to note that two Muslims, Al-Miqdad ibn Amr, Al-Bahran and Utbah bin Ghazwan Al-Mazili, they defected from the Quraysh and joined the ranks of Ubaidah. Al-Miqdad and Utbah, they were going with the caravan of the Quraysh because they had not yet migrated. But when this small fighting occurred, they switched to the troops with Ubaidah ibn Harith. The Muslims had a white flag which was carried by Mistah ibn Uthatha or Athatha. And memorize that name because he'll come again. And his name is Mistah ibn Athatha ibn al-Muttalib ibn Abd Manaf. So he's also the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The third Sariyah was the Sariyah or the mission to Al-Kharar, the place called Al-Kharar. And it says the Al-Kharar is close to Juhfa. It occurred in Dhul Qa'dah, the next month. Right? After Shawwal is Dhul Qa'dah? Yeah. So the first one was Ramadan, and then Shawwal, and then Dhul Qa'dah. The Prophet ﷺ dispatched Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. And Sa'ad is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ from his mother's side. At the head of 20 horsemen, and instructed them not to go beyond Al-Kharar. After a 5-day march, they reached the spot to discover the camels of the Quraysh had left the day before. Islamic history, guys, and the flags a whole chapter, in fact, books, which are called Wafayat. Our scholars compiled, and then chronologically, the people who died in specific years. So the first year, who died? Second year, so-and-so died in this year. Third year, we have that until the time of, until 6 centuries ago. Nobody has kept the history like Muslims have. Specific books which are called Wafayat. Who died this year, this year, this year, this year, this year, this year, this year. Okay? So who died in the first year? A few individuals, very few, because again, Muslims are still very few. From the notable ones is that great man who mentioned yesterday again, as a reminder, Kulthum ibn al-Hidm. Kulthum ibn al-Hidm. Who's Kulthum ibn al-Hidm? Who remembers? Who is Kulthum ibn al-Hidm? Who was there yesterday? You were there yesterday, weren't you? He was the man, the Prophet ﷺ, he stayed at his house at Quba. The Prophet ﷺ left Mecca and he stopped at Quba for 14 days. Remember that? He stayed in the house of Kulthum ibn al-Hidm. So Kulthum, he died in the first year of Hijrah. This year he died. Radiyallahu anhu. And he was an old man. وَكَانَ شَيْخًا كَبِيرًا أسلم قبل مقدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المدينة. He became Muslim before the Prophet went to Medina, and he is the one who the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he hosted the Prophet ﷺ in Quba, Kulthum ibn al-Hibn. And also from those who died was As'ad ibn Zurara radiallahu anhu. As'ad ibn Zurara is one of the leaders of the Ansar, the people of Medina. He's one of those people who were the Nuqaba, the emissaries who represented their people when they told the Prophet ﷺ, come to Medina. As'ad bin Zurara, he died also. Okay, now continuing on to the second year. The second year, the Prophet ﷺ, he sent out and he set out. And this is the first battle or expedition he himself he set out. And this is the Ghazwa of Al-Abwa. It's called Al-Abwa or Waddan. In the Seerah book it's called Abwa or Waddan. Waddan is a place between Makkah and Medina near Rabi'a, about 29 miles from Medina. Okay? It was in the second year in Safar. Safar is the second month of the Islamic calendar, guys. He, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, set out himself at the head of 70 men, mostly muhajirun, immigrants, to intercept a camel caravan belonging to the Quraysh, leaving behind Sa'd ibn Ubadah to administer the affairs in Medina. He reached Waddan without an incident. In the process of this campaign, he contracted a non-aggression pact, an agreement, a treaty with Amr ibn Makhsh al-Dhamri. And it said the following. This is a document from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Messenger of Allah, concerning Banu Dhamra, in which he established them to be safe and secure in their wealth and their lives. They can expect support from the Muslims unless they oppose the religion of Allah. They are also expected to respond positively in the case the Prophet ﷺ sought their help. This was the first invasion under the leadership of Allah's Messenger ﷺ. It took them 15 days and they came back to Medina, and the white flag was carried by Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. After that, what comes after Safar, guys? Those who know the Islamic calendar, Muharram, Safar, then what? Rabiul Awwal, and then Rabiul Thani, and then Jamadul Awwal. So Rabiul Awwal, next month, the Prophet ﷺ, at the head of 200 of his companions, they left to Buwat, and there he wanted to intercept a caravan belonging to the Quraysh, a trade caravan. Umayyah bin Khalaf, the criminal, he was among them, and they had so much wealth, 2,500 camels carrying stuff. But when he reached Buwat, they had left, so they came back. And before the Prophet ﷺ left Medina, he put Sa'd bin Mu'adh in charge of Medina. These names are very important. Who does the Prophet ﷺ leave in charge?
Sa'd.
Because it shows you how great they are. That they are trusted enough to be the leaders of Medina when the Prophet ﷺ is not there. Very important. Sa'd bin Ubadah, Sa'd bin Mu'adh. And then after that, the same month, the Prophet ﷺ, we have the Ghazwa of say Safwan here, I think it's Shaykh. Ghazwa of Safwan, we'll go with the book. Same month, Kurz ibn Jabir al-Fihri, at the head of a small group of mushrikun, they raided the pastures of Medina, right outside Medina, where they had their flock of sheep and camel grazing. And he took some animals. So the Prophet ﷺ brought together a group of 70 men, and he was the leader of that group. And they chased those aggressors. He went in pursuit until they reached a place called Safwan near Badr. but he could not catch up with them. This mission, it came to be known as the smaller Badr, or the first Badr, because those people ran to the place called Badr. Okay, but it's called the Ghazwa of Safwan, or small Badr. And when the Prophet ﷺ was gone, who did he keep in charge of Medina? Zayd ibn al-Haritha, radiallahu anhu. Alright? And in this army, Ali ibn Abi Talib was carrying the flag for the Muslims. Next one we have the Ghazwa of Dhul Ushayra. Dhul Ushayra. Now Dhul Ushayra, it happened in the next month, Jamad al-Ula, or the month after. The Prophet ﷺ, at the head of 150 or 200 Ansar. I will stop here now. The past 6 Saraya expeditions, I told you to pay attention. They were headed by the Muhajirun. And the whole armies who went out were the Muhajirun. Why? This is because, listen to me guys, you see Abu Nidal every day. Why did the Prophet ﷺ take the Ansar with him? Because when the Ansar came to Mecca in the Bay'atul Aqaba, they gave him the pledge of what? We are going to defend you like we defend our families. They never said we are going to go out and fight with you. So the Prophet ﷺ, also the second reason, he wanted to show them, I'm a true, genuine, proper leader. I go out myself to fight and I put the closest people to me in danger. Who was the leader of the first one? His uncle Hamza. The second one? Ubaidah, his cousin. Right? So he sent the people who are closest to him. After that, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, his uncle. That is a true leader. He doesn't say, oh, you guys, you go fight, I'll be here. No. It's very important because tomorrow when we discuss Badr, you will see that. Why he went out mostly with the Muhajirun. I am tempted to stop here.
Okay.
What do you guys say?
No.
Have some Rahmah, please. We are in Masjid Rahmah anyways.
It is time actually.
It is time to stop? Okay, we'll just do Dhul Ushayr and then stop. It was in Jamad al-Ula or al-Akhirah. Now he went out with around 150 of the Ansar. With 40 camels, listen guys. There are 150 to 200 men. But they only had 30 camels. So they used to take turns. So one camel is how many people? There are 150 to 200 men. And they only have 30 camels. So one camel is at least 5 people. Yes. And you wait your turn, 4 people are going to walk in the desert. Why are we emphasizing on this? They did not have things easy. They suffered for Islam. They went to a place called Dhul Ushayra to intercept a trade caravan. In the process of this campaign, the Prophet ﷺ, he signed a treaty with Bani Mudlij and the allies Bani Dhumra. And who was left in charge of Medina? Abu Salama ibn Abdul Asad. Abu Salama, we all know him, we discussed it, his story. Abu Salama, the first man to migrate. The husband of Salama, the brother of the Prophet ﷺ by breastfeeding. Okay, he was left as the administrator of Medina. So you see that most of these, if not all of these, there was no fighting. And they went out month after month after month, and every time they get there, the caravan is gone. The caravan is gone. Most of us will give up. But I think Allah was building their sabr, their patience. Because it's difficult. We learned that already. You go to Umrah today and try to go pray Dhuhr in the Haram without sunglasses and air condition. You'll die, you'll melt. They used to go in that desert, imagine. 14, 15 days. They go there, nothing. They have to come back. So tomorrow, we are going to go into the great battle of Al-Badr, inshallah. I was told to answer some of these questions because some of the sisters won't be here tomorrow.
We have 5 minutes.
We don't. You just spoiled it. I was about to say we don't have time. But you say we have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Shouldn't I leave this to tomorrow though? If women and men are praying at the same hall, do women still need to rush and start at the front? No. I say, if women, they have their own musalla separate, like we have in this masjid, men have their own musalla, women are praying upstairs. The best saf, rows for the women in this case is the first one. But if we are in a masjid, like the traditional masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, there's no partition. Men are in the front, women are at the back. In that case, the best rows are the last ones for the women. The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرُ صُفُوفِ الرِّجَالِ, the best of the rows of the men are the front ones. وَخَيْرُ صُفُوفِ النِّسَاءِ, the best of the rows of the women are the last ones. Why did he say this? The Prophet ﷺ, there's a verse in the Quran, someone remind me. You know the Sahaba, the human beings at the end of the day. So some of those women were in the front. Some of those Sahaba were in the last rows. Sometimes they used to look at each other. Humans. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said, the best rows for you men are the front ones. And that is why Aisha radiallahu anha said what? Right after the Prophet ﷺ died. If the Prophet ﷺ was alive and he knew what the women are doing today, he would stop them from going to the masjid. Aisha said that. Especially some of you women, especially in Taraweeh. You don't come for Taraweeh after you're full with your samosas and whatnot. You come and chill in the masjid and gossip. If I was in charge of the masjid, Allahu Akbar, you don't even know what I'll do to you. Stop them from coming to the masjid. Aisha said that, imagine, during her time. What about today? Also men, of course, by the way. When you make dua, do you have to cup your hands like that? You don't have to, but it's good. Because this shows you're miskin. You're in need. It shows you're begging to Allah. This is good. Cupping your hand like that is good. It shows that you're begging. And Allah loves those who beg, because right away He gives you. What is the significance of cupping of hands for dua? That is the significance. Can you shorten your prayer once you have reached your destination as a traveler? If you are a traveler, you can still shorten your prayer. I am a traveler. I came from Toronto. I'm here for 3 days. I just prayed my Asr 2 rak'ahs. Okay, of course, if you pray behind the Imam, he prays 4, you pray 4. But if I was to pray by myself, I'm going to pray Isha in the hotel. I'll pray how many rak'ahs? 2 only, I'm a traveler. Some of these questions, they require time, so I'll answer tomorrow. Is there a certain distance considered to shorten the prayer? There's no distance. Whatever people consider travel. What do the people of Ottawa consider traveling? Do the people of Ottawa say going to Brockville is traveling or not? I didn't ask kilometers, sister. The people of Ottawa, Ahlul Madina, do they say going to Brockville is travel or not? If they say yes, khalas, you shorten your prayer. The people of Ottawa, Do they consider going to Kingston, travel or not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you shorten your prayer. That is the answer. There's no kilometers. There's no kilometers. The Prophet ﷺ, through his sunnah, his seerah, if you are to count the kilometers, they're less than 10 kilometers. Quba, was it a different city or same city? Back then? Different city. When they went to Quba, they shortened the prayer. Today, can you do that? You can't do that today. Because Quba is just part of the same city. Can you talk about other topics next time, inshallah? There's that piece of paper, you can write the other topics you want to. Are there any rulings on making dua for non-Muslims? Yes, you should make dua for non-Muslims. Allah guides them to Islam. When you travel, do you have to pray the 2 rak'ahs on time? Or do you pray Dhuhr and Asr together, Maghrib and Isha together? No. It is better you pray every prayer on its time. So you pray during Dhuhr, you pray Dhuhr but 2. You pray Asr during Asr. Unless you need to join, then you join. How far is traveling? We just say that. Should I stop?
Yeah.
I'll stop. Blame him.